Hello, everyone. I think it's on time at 6 o'clock. And thank you so much for being here today with us. As you all know, GSEF 2021 started its journey on the 4th of October, on Monday, and will continue till 8th of October. So please join this session and all the other sessions. It would be great to have your active participation. Thank you so much. Today we have English workshop on, how can social and solidarity economy contribute to achieving ecologically just transition for local communities? Let me introduce you our moderator, So-hee, she's the CEO and co-founder of the Kijami Table, working both in Rwanda and South Korea. She worked in Save the Children, Beautiful Store, one of the women CEOs that I know in the sector who is actively engaging and promoting and working with youth, not only in Korea, but also in Africa. Thank you so much, So-hee, to accepting our invitation to become the moderator. And now the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my presentation first. Okay, let me start. Nice to meet you guys here. Today we have a session of the how can social and solidarity economy contribute to achieving ecologically just transition for local communities. Actually, I'm working in a social venture, and it's not really related to the ecology things like environmental issues, but anyway, I'm always linked with this issue. So let me try to do this one in this time. All right, I have some minutes to introduce myself. So let me use that. As the introduction before, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my business in Rwanda in Africa continent. And the first time I have this motivation is just several years ago. I have volunteered in Kenya and Cameroon in Africa countries. And at the time, I found the issues and problems of youth jobs and social participants issues. So at the time, I was also, as a young person, I agree and very sympathize with their issue. So I want to try what I can with them and for them. So at the time, my question was how to make the youth stay in their community. I found the problem of brain drain, which is the young people who educated, they want to go abroad or just leave their community because there's no jobs and no opportunities. So what I decided was start a small business in a community. So I have a business called Kijami Table. Kijami is a Swahili language, means social. Yeah. So it's a kind of social restaurant. And we operate a restaurant business with local characteristic menus. So we only introduce the local food like African food and Rwandan food. And through this, we create jobs for local youth.
I'm sorry, Zoe, for interrupting you. I don't think your presentation slide is moving on. We're staying on the very first page.
Ah, okay. Does everyone have the same problem?
Yes, I think so. Could you put the like 처음부터 재생 button? Maybe then it shows. Yeah.
Okay, let me try it again.
Mm-hmm.
No. Maybe
or you can just go to Yeah,
I need to use these kind of things because I changed some function of this one, so that's why I think, but it's a little bit complicated to change it again. Sorry about it, and let me try like this way. Okay. So I was here. Yeah, and Kijami Table is like this business. And through this business, we create jobs for local youth who have completed higher education and foster social entrepreneurs. Yeah, that's what I'm doing in Rwanda. But anyway, thinking about this title of today, I was considering about how I related to the environmental issue, and that is my summary of that thought. So while I'm working in a local society, there's two phases. One, there are some weaknesses and there are some strengths, and the weaknesses are like this. In developing countries, they are more sensitive to climate change. I think you may agree with it if you have the experience in developing countries. They are not very doing something for the harmful for the environment, but they are very weak from the environmental crisis and other thing. They are more limited. They have more limited resources in Corona situation. That they are the weaknesses. But on the other hand, there are strengths like this. First one, non-wasteful consumption. In their lifestyle, they know they don't have like a very wasteful lifestyle. So I think it can be one of the strengths in the developing countries. And another one, it is very easy to propose and try new methodologies, which is very friendly with the environment and eco-friendly things. So I hope we can talk about the more things, how we can make the lifestyle and methodology for the ecologically, in a community. So yeah, I will go directly to our objectives and main question. So yeah, these are our objectives today. First, to reflect on the challenges and risks posed by current developmental model, and second, to make visible the importance of environmental regeneration and its coexistence with societies, and lastly, to jumble to possible routes and strategies of action to follow, which are necessary for a change of course. Actually, that's too broad to answer, but anyway, we can just touch some part of it, I think. And the main question will be answered at the end of this session. I want to just introduce our main question first. Our main question is, what should be the action or strategies of individuals, governments, groups, societies, countries to achieve a better and more inclusive world? What key actions should be promoted from the local level? Okay. So let me introduce our panel members. We have 4 speakers. First, Ms. Akiko Harachuka Sasaki will have her presentation first. She's a researcher of IGES, Institute of Global Environmental Strategies. Her research interests including just transitions and community-driven movement in Asian countries. Her presentation is about how social and solidarity economy can contribute to promote a just transition for local communities. It includes the main theme and definition of today's title, I think. And the second, Mr. Yang Wei-Shu is the second one. He is a Chief Secretary of Department of Environmental Protection in Taipei City Government. Today, he will share their experience on recycling and circulation of furniture regeneration in Taipei City. And the third, Ms. Gitanjali Maria Selvam. She's a researcher of University of Helsinki and HELSIS. She worked in the forestry sector for 20 years with government in India and the Punjab states. Her interest is nature and environment conservation. She will talk about who pays for conservation, designing just model for conservation of biodiversity. Okay, and our last speaker, Ms. Sinyan Joy Lee, is International Project Manager in SEED. She has worked for a social venture, and now she's involved in the initiative Global Solution Lab webinar series at SEED. And the wording create a solution application and plotting opportunity between solution leaders around the world in Korea, young pioneers who are fighting against climate change. Okay, let me call Ms. Akiko, our first speaker. Ms. Akiko, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sohi, for the kind introduction. And wait a minute. Let me share my presentation. So yeah, thank you very much for giving me the chance to do some to present my presentation today on regarding interlinkage of regarding interlinkage of just transition and so in just transition and SSC at the local level. So today, yeah. So for example, just transition. For example, when coal mines are going to shut down in one region due to the climate change policies, you know, the major concerns would be like how the affected workers can be protected or, you know, gain new jobs, or how the local economy can be regenerated. Sorry. But you know, the community-driven movements are important within just transition, but they are not likely to provide enough jobs for them or to support all the affected people by the transition. Then are the local movements not important, or how SSC at the local level could contribute to promote just transition? So these are the questions for today's my presentation. I'd like to, you know, touch upon these questions based on my ongoing research project. So what is just transition at first place? Maybe many of you already know about it, but let me go just quickly through the concept. So what just transition is about idea of pursuing a low carbon transition while assuring justice. So it's aimed for decarbonization, but at the same time through, you know, developing social dialogue, job creation, protection of local communities, and poverty eradication. The concept has been mainstream since the Paris Agreement in 2015, and since then there are like lots of different initiatives emerged at international, national, local levels. But looking at different directions actually, because there's no clear definition of just transitions. So for example, at the local level, there are like cities or community-based social enterprises, NGOs, or really like a lot of different initiatives working on just transitions. So as I said, there's a diversity in just transition movements. So it can be ranged from the mean for job creation in green economy to the drastic transformation from the current market economy. So the approaches can be also, you know, diverse, like based on business as usual, or like seeking for transformative change, or the scope can be also exclusive, you know, only limited for the workers, the affected workers, or it can be inclusive. So regarding like local, in just transition, there are like less attention to the local sustainability actually, because within the discussions or like strategies within just transition, they tend to focus on the short and medium term, like how to compensate or workers reskilling and upskilling, but less in the longer term, like how to diversify local economy or community revitalization. And they're like, so transition into what, what kind of future they want in the communities are still vague. And there are also other issues like misalignment of renewable energy industry or risk of social exclusion. So the importance of local initiatives is recognized, but actually there's still like less study about their roles in the transition process. I just made like a very simple diagram about the just transition at the local level. So, in order to achieve just transition at the local level, there are like several points to be concerned. I mean, just in terms of justice. Firstly, like a fair distribution of, for example, public services or measures for retraining or re-employment of the workers or welfare for the communities. Or the secondly, participation, I mean, giving opportunities for participation, especially social dialogue. And thirdly, about the recognition of the all the affected people, I mean, including these marginalized communities or minorities, but also recognition of the local traditions and values and stuff. So now how SSC plays a role here? So in order to think about it, let me just go into a little bit into the theoretical context about justice and solidarity, just quickly. But justice is a concept regarding individuals, like the outcomes or quality of individuals. But solidarity is a relational concept seeking for a symmetrical, reciprocal relationship. And Habermas claims that these justice and solidarity are two sides of the coins, so they are complement each other. So solidarity cannot alternate justice, but it can correct the way of practice of justice. So in terms of just transition, solidarity would, have the important role to support the realization of justices and also to overcome asymmetrical relationships like between state and non-state actors and so on. Here, let me share some of the examples from the Japanese experiences of the Japanese cities. This, by the way, this is not like the examples of just transition or a very successful case studies or something like that, but it is like kind of like historical examples from the transition in 1960s and 1980s, quite like a long time ago. But there are like some points to learn, I assume, so I'd like to share some of them. One is from Tagawa City, which is known as a coal town. So it used to be like one of the major coal mining regions in Japan. But in Japan, there is a national energy transition from coal to oil in the 1960s. And as a result, the city has suffered from the severe impacts due to the closure of coal mines, and the communities have been collapsed, and high poverty rates and job losses and everything happened. And on the other hand, the Kitakyushu city, actually it's a neighbor city of Tagawa City, but Kitakyushu is known as a steel town, like heavy industry. And it also experienced like a sharp decline of the steel industry since, let's say, like 1970s. But one thing unique about Kitakyushu City is that they worked so hard to make a transition from the steel industry to become an environmental city since the 1980s. And as a result, actually, now the city is well known as a sustainable environmental city, not only in Japan, but also worldwide. I don't go into details, actually, but one thing I would like to share here is this points like a structure of dependence or like a transition of governance, I would say. This is what they had, those both cities have experienced. So before the transition happened in these two cities, the private sector, like steel company or coal company, they are the ones like, you know, controlling over the city's politics and also like everyone's life there. So that as a result, like local communities were totally dependent on these public sector. But as such, once such industries, you know, left the city or they shrunk their size of activities, and what happened is that so local communities became dependent on the local government. So this kind of like structural dependence, so to say, has not changed, but it just shifted from private sector to the local government, because local communities were, you know, in need, and local government was the one who were providing, you know, public services or temporary jobs and everything. So that's what happened to them. And these are, you know, very asymmetrical relationship. So in order to break this kind of asymmetric relationship, it is needed to build symmetrical and reciprocal relationship among the stakeholder to make. So in order to do that, we need an arena for dialogue. So that's where, you know, solidarity works in, and also the SSE social solidarity economy organization plays a role, I believe. So as a for example, in Kitakyushu City, there is a local NPO. They worked quite well, I mean, to provide an arena for co-creation or connecting local actors like citizens and cities and city government, private sector, and so on. So, well, I mean, in terms of this, like all the transition, what happened in Kitakyushu City from the steel industry, dependent on the heavy industry, to become an environmental city, the city government has worked really hard, and they are one of the key promoters. But without this local NPO, a non-profitable organization, they couldn't really achieve kind of like citizen involvement and you know, having like an arena for, you know, having a platform to discuss with a you know, with several actors. So so their SSCUE organization worked well. And this is my last slide, but
sorry for the interrupting. Now time is up.
Sure.
So could you please, do that one briefly?
Yeah, sure. This is my conclusion. Yeah, sure. And so this is my final slide. So solidarity is vital to redress injustices, especially on participation and recognition in just transition, because social dialogue is a strong tool. And I believe that SSC organization will function as an intermediator to build kind of solidarity and also relationship among the local actors. So that's why SSC organization contribute to just transition. Yeah, I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Akiko Sasaki. Thank you for your interesting content and your presentation. Actually, I want to ask something, in questions, and but we'd rather to listen to all our speakers' presentation. After that, I will give you the questions later. Thank you. Then, thank you very much. And now, I will call our second speaker, Mr. Yang. He's not right here for now, but after for the Q&A session, he will come here. Now we will share his video recorded. Okay, thank you. Please play that video.
No sound, please. Moderator, do you hear the sound? Sorry.
Sorry, only the video is not sound, no sound. I can hear the sound very small. Can you try it again? Sorry for waiting, but still the sound is not sharing.
Now it's going to go better. Sorry, let me just turn on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, you couldn't hear, moderator?
Sorry, I cannot.
Okay, we'll try to solve the problem. Could we move to the next speaker, please? Sorry about that.
Okay, see. Then let's move on to our third speaker.
This is Thai City Government speaking. We have also prepared our pre-recorded video. Is it okay if we play by ourselves and we will share our screen?
I think it will be great. Can you please try to play your video by on your side? Okay. But still, I cannot hear anything.
Could you try to play? We don't hear anything yet.
To the Department of Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for attending this forum. I am Yang Wei Xiu, the Chief Secretary at the Department of Environmental Protection, Taipei City Government. Today, I'm glad to be here and speak about Taipei City's policy of recycling and the circulation of furniture regeneration. Here is an outline for my presentation. First, I will talk about history of treatment. Second, we will move on to promotion process. Next, I will briefly go through implementation method and the implementation results. Finally, it will be my conclusion. The total area of Taipei City is 272 square kilometers, and it is divided into 12 administration districts with a population of about 2.57 million. The city is densely populated with an average of 9,455 people per square kilometer. In both Neihu and Guangfa districts, the city has set up furniture regeneration exhibition sites. In addition, the average per capita GDP of Taipei City is 32,219 US dollars, and its average carbon emissions per capita per year is 4.38 metric tons. History of waste treatment in Taipei City. Since 1970, the waste treatment in Taipei City has gone through different stages, including open-air dumping, sanitary landfill, incineration, and resource recycling. Starting from 2000, the city has promoted per bag garbage collection fee to achieve resource recycling and waste reduction. Now, the city's resource recycling rate has increased largely to 65% in 2021. Following the garbage collection fee, Taipei City has further promoted the recycling of kitchen waste, as well as for recycling of resources, zero landfill of waste. Furthermore, Taipei City has launched various measures to reduce the amount of waste, followed at source step by step, while increasing the amount of recycling resources. For instance, the city has tried to work on new projects, reuse of huge waste, and so on, hoping that it can achieve the advanced measures and goals as zero waste, for recycling, and the circulation of sustainable recycling. Waste material flow of Taipei City. As you can see in the simple flow chart, showing the generation, treatment, and the reuse of garbage disposal in Taipei City. Waste discharged from manufacturers and customers are incorporated into appropriate mode of processing. Then, based on the classification scheme, the waste will be sorted into general garbage, resource recycling, kitchen waste, or large waste items, such as furniture. Promotion process. Since 2002, the DEP of Taipei City has started to run the pilot scheme to recycle and reuse discarded furniture and bicycles in different areas. In 2003, the collected and transported waste furniture was repaired, refurbished, and sold to citizens in need at a lower price. In 2006, the neighborhood furniture generation exhibition and auction site was established in neighborhood, the first of its kind across the nation, promoted by the DEP, and it has attracted other counties and cities to observe and learn. As of 2013, we have begun to give away regeneration furniture to the needy and the indigenous people. Implementation method. For our implementation method, citizens can hand over waste furniture to recycling trucks by appointment. Next, at the furniture recycling site, the cleaning team will sort our repairable or recyclable items, and then masters at furniture recycling site will repair them with creative ideas and transform them into valuable recycled furniture. At the end, these final products will be sold at public auction. Implementation results. Since 2003, the DEP of Taipei City has repaired the refurbished discarded furniture, which is then provided to people in need at a lower price. Realizing sustainable resource management, utilization prevention, carbon reduction, recycling and reuse, and reducing waste generation are the directions that the government needs to work hard on. These directions will help the city move towards the SDG 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. In addition to increasing government financial resources, it has also implemented the circular economy with more than 150 million NT dollars of resources added from 200,000 items accumulated so far. Donate charity to the needy and help spread love. To cope with municipal goals of just society and caring and sharing, the DEP has spared no effort in giving back to the society in recent years. To further convey love, help the disadvantaged, and render the recycled furniture of DEP more meaningful, it has continued to donate recycled furniture for charity to the disadvantaged families as previous years. As you can see from the bar chart, from 2013 to the end of June this year, a total of 892 pieces of furniture were given to indigenous people, and 987 pieces of furniture to the disadvantaged families, with as many as 627 families benefited. The DEP is making every effort to help end poverty in all forms, meeting the SDG 1, and poverty in all its forms everywhere. Benefits of resource recycling. Here are some advantages in recycling and circulation for furniture regeneration. First, it can help pollution, waste, and the waste disposal cost reduction. Second, extended the lifespan of landfills is in addition. Finally, it would reuse of resource recycling. Finally, I would like to conclude my speech with a noteworthy saying which puts that there is no such thing as waste, only resources in the wrong place. As such, it is our sincere hope that we can create a livable, sustainable, and resource recycling Taipei. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your interesting case. It is so impressive. Because of our limited time, let's just go to the third speakers directly. Okay, so Ms. Gitanjali, please go ahead. Are you ready?
Thank you, Sohee. Thank you so much. So let me share my screen. Should I share with the files or advanced?
Yes, you open the file and then you share the screen.
Yes.
Marking that file.
No, it's not true. No.
And now the session are a little bit delayed, so please, Ms. Gitanjali, keep your time.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
I will try to just make it very short, but I'm just not able to share the.
Oh, Gitanjali, I can try. Let me see if it's possible. Do you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, maybe I can help you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sohi. Thank you. So, and talking of just transition, so I designed my talk like who pays for conservation. So I'm talking about biodiversity conservation. So other three collaborators, yeah. So when I talk of conservation, we have the ecosystem services. So I'm talking about the protected areas in this case, which may be the national parks or wildlife sanctuaries or something like that. So the people who manage these areas may be the local people or the specific service for that or the local administration. But the benefits from such areas can go to a wide range of stakeholders. That can be a local people or some companies, maybe the drug companies or water companies or the tourist agencies, or maybe the whole world when we talk of the climate change. So the scale of services from the ecosystem services of one protected area is varied. The next, please. So when talking of that, I'm just trying to address, are our conservation models just? So if we have a protected area, the benefits are from local to a global scale. But generally, the costs of conservation are borne by the local people who just live in and around that area. So like in India, for example, we used to have a command and control method. Like that area is protected by law, so no one can enter. But the people bear the cost of the conservation. So I'm trying to think like when we compensate for them for the opportunity cost that they lost out of conservation. Next, please. So these command and control methods are like a stick. So when trying to think whether that can be a carrots to motivate them rather than just strict laws. We all know that there are conflicts in the conservation and development. So when we want to develop our consumeristic angle, the whole world, but we want to conserve, it's for our own good. So it's for our good, but how to motivate? So that's the question. So earlier we had this command and control methods, then we started involving the people. These are the participatory approaches. Even then, are we still just, the next please. So I try to introduce a concept like payments or compensations for conservation. This is a photo taken from c4.org. They try to list out various models of conservation where payments or compensations are made to the people who deliver these services or maintain these ecosystem services. The next, please. So what this is all about? Next one, please. Yeah. These payments, yeah, it ran ahead. Earlier one, yeah. These payments are given to the farmers or the landowners who maintain the ecosystems. And this is a very relatively new conservation strategy. This is a voluntary method where people are called in to participate. They can join or stay away. But only thing, it's a conditionality of payment. The ecosystems have to be maintained, so there will be a monitoring system in place. And these are absolutely voluntary transactions between the service users and the providers. And the service here is the ecosystem service. The next one. The logic behind this concept is that when a land is put to use, the black bar mentions the exhaustive use of land. It may be a intensive form of agriculture or industry or something. The cost accrued to the environment is the maroon bar below. But if the same person puts the land to a conservative use, wherein the ecosystem service is conserved, which is shown by the second green bar, so his income is reduced. So that is the next bar. Like if this green bar is substituted by a small maroon bar, wherein some compensation can be given to him. So it's compensated or almost equal to the exploitative use of the land that the person was putting it to. And there are no ecological costs here. So that's a win-win for both. So that is the logic behind this payments for ecosystem services. Next, please. So there are different PES schemes, hundreds of schemes going around the world. And these are the four main categories of PES schemes. There may be the watershed schemes or the carbon sequestration, or for multiple ecosystem service, we call them as bundles, or for the biodiversity services. So these are the different types of these schemes going around the world. In the next one. So I studied various schemes that are operating. So I see these payments to these schemes, the compensations which you call, has been either cash or kind or in form of a developmental work for that area or a combination. And these contracts have been ranging from 1 year to many years, depending on the cropping pattern in place. And the goal has been for many things. And the funding has come from either the private, the government, through taxes and so on. The buyer in some cases, for like if it's a national level scheme, has been a government. And for in some cases, for if it is a small area, even some private players have been funding this scheme. And the seller is generally an individual farmer or a forest owner, or maybe a community. Together, they have been participating in these schemes. The next, please. So seeing this, I think when designing these schemes, the following steps can be followed. First is to identify the ecosystem service available in that protected area. And then to identify the beneficiaries in various scales, who may be the possible ones who will be willing to pay. And also the potential sellers, whether the people will be ready to participate in such schemes and so on. And then choose the ecosystems that can be traded and the payment mechanisms can be worked out. So in a way, I find that if such schemes come to work, it may motivate people for conservation, and it may be a nature-based solution for biodiversity conservation. And it is just in the terms like the person is not bearing the entire cost of conservation on himself. The other players who enjoy also pay. And that's it. The next one, please. Yeah. So, but still there are some limitations I see in these schemes. Sometimes the opportunity cost may be too high. So in that case, it may be a little difficult to mobilize the payments. And when the balance has already been tipped, the ecosystem is degraded, then it is too late. And some authors also feel like when you give some extrinsic rewards like this in terms of payment, it may demotivate their intrinsic motivation to conserve as such. And when there are schemes, big players easily come to be favored. Small farmers may find difficult to access and so on. So this may call a little bit of what you say can be. So next slide, please. And to sum up, I may say like the motivation for people for conservation may be from creating awareness to creating funding and markets, many mechanisms. And the ecosystem service valuations create awareness in a terms like we take all the services for granted because all are free. But when you put a value to them, we actually see how much we are gaining from the ecosystems. And in a way, these schemes have a potential to create future new funding options for conservation. And these may create some just models for conservation in certain situations. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gitanjali. When we think about this kind of transition, we need to think about the totally different type of systems or approach. So I think it can be part of it. Thank you again. And I will give you the question later. Yeah. Okay, now we will call our last speaker, Ms. Lee. So are you ready, Xingyan?
Hi.
Yeah, it's yours. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Okay, let me start. Hello, everyone. My name is Joy Lee from Seeds, based in Seoul, Korea. Today, I would like to speak about the signification of green solution exchange and the role of intermediary supporting organization like us, Seeds. So I'd like to start my presentation by briefly touching upon the UN 2030 Youth Strategy, envisioning working with and for young people. So UN defined youth as agents of change in 2030 Youth Strategy. And not only for that, but also they underlined their active role and potential to contribute to change the world as a subject, as an actors in a more peaceful, just, and sustainable place. And in this kind of global context, in Korea as well, we have seen a constantly rising demand on youth-oriented policy. But like the name of all legislation we had implies, like Special Act on Youth Employment Promotion, the former legislative view narrowed the youth into just a tiny part of labor market, and they defined the young people as a job seeker who are in personal trouble entering into those labor market. And in 2020, fortunately, we had finally this Framework Act on Youth. And after this was enacted, the prime ministers took charge of establishing master plan concerning youth policies every 5 years and implement them, engaging 30% of youth voices into those coordination process of policies. Though I personally think this is a very tardy response, but symbolic at the same time, because a lot of social problems that we as a young people are facing, like disparity, polarization of wealth, inequality, gender imbalance, low accessibility to decent work, and little reflection of their youth voices or opinions in the policymaking process, etc. and etc. are immediately impacting the future generations and frustrating our mental and economic power, sterilizing hope and expectations to their next steps in the life. So this is symbolic because the government perspective, youth problem in the government's point of view, was taken into account the youth problem as quality life that youth deserve, not only just a matter of getting a job or not. But interestingly, Seoul Metropolitan Government already had this kind of implementing body of youth policies, which is Seoul Youth Hub. And from this year, we Seeds have partnered with this organization as a managing operator, because Seoul Youth Hub has worked very hard to support youth voluntarily actions, cooperatives, activists, or young practitioners in a very diverse field. So, briefly introducing about our main businesses, since 2012, Seeds as a nonprofit organization and also an intermediary supporting organization was into empowering young social entrepreneurs. And in 2019, we expanded our activities over Indonesia last year. And we explored a lot of green solutions in Indonesia, and we figured out that their green solutions assured economic prosperity, social well-being, and environmental health at the same time. And most importantly, their solutions were very firmly rooted in the local community that their activities are based in. But then in the middle of the project, the COVID-19 broke out, as all of us experienced. And I guess many of you did. We reflected also on the very fundamental way that we interact with the nature on the planet. So we questioned to ourselves, didn't we alienate ourselves from all the living things, like life, fascinated by technology, conveniences, science, and human-centered thoughts? So we kind of made this kind of conclusion that how do we reconstruct our relationship with nature and get reconnected to it? And answer was quite clear, and I think we kind of agreed worldwide: circular economy. Because the basic idea of circular economy is that all these end products that we benefit came from the life: wood, soil, water, and all the biological components. And we have to bring them back to the natural original source where they came from. So from the lessons we learned from Indonesia, we believed that the local could be an no, before that, I have to mention this, but this is a beautiful super crew model, but then there is also the huge gap between the actual practices in the real world. So how do we implement the circular economy model in the local community? But still, we have this very strong belief from the lessons that we learned from Indonesia that the local should be a very agile and powerful unit for this change, and also found out that at the first glance, the green solutions look very different from each other, but then we can categorize them because, for example, we think about this social problem like side stream food waste going into the trash bin and just incinerated, making a lot of fossil fuels and carbon footprints. We developed, like in many European countries, in Asia and in Korea as well, food refurbishing idea. So this is the idea that we can make ugly produce more accessible to people, not just throwing them away. I'm sorry. So that's where this idea came out, Global Solution Lab webinar series. So I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the idea that what if we encourage our individuals to implement the existing solution all around the world with this similar idea of solutions, and sort out the do's and don'ts in the context of local environment that they are facing, fail fast by acting small, and transform those solutions to even innovate the current problem that we are facing. So that's where we envisioned knowledge exchange platform for just an ecological local community. And then from the last June to this October, we invited 23 thought leaders and young practitioners on the stage and reached out to 600 audience. And we are expecting it to be 900 at the end of October. I'm getting almost at the end. Actually, it is very hard to make a conclusion out of it. At the moment, this initiative is still going on. And of course, we have lots of room of improvement. However, as of now, we might be able to share this meaningful consequence that we draw out. So last week, we have been reached to this young youth organization in Korea who have needs on piloting this business model, which is a kind of green solution. This model is making mushroom grow kits from the coffee grounds, then sell them sell those mushrooms in the local supermarkets and restaurants, promoting plant-based recipes as well. So making it circular as it is. So I'm going to quickly go to the next slide, which is the final one. We are still learning, we are still failing, but I think the role of social and solidarity economy can contribute to just transition is understanding ourselves from where we are. We are in the untapped world because of the COVID-19 crisis, but this is also the opportunity that we can examine our local resource and conditions that we are around and sophisticate the local knowledge and experience by failing fast, as I mentioned earlier. And then after this pandemic crisis over, we might get another one, but still we can go to the next level of solidarity based on solution-based cooperation on the basis of mutual understanding of each other. This is my last word, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for introducing very interesting cases and program. We can talk more later. Okay, now I'm go back to the first presentation, and one by one, I will give the speaker that question. And after that, I found some questions from the floor, and I will go straight to that. Okay, so now, okay, may I call Ms. Akiko right now? Yeah, I will give a question to Ms. Akiko first.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, local residents in traditional industries are mostly older and have a long period of experience in their profession. So it seems that it may be difficult to learn new skills for transition, or there may be resistance to change. So I wonder if there was such a problem in the village, for example, Kitakyushu. So if so, how did they solve it?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, so in case of Kitakyushu, it's actually the steel company played a very important role for finding new jobs, because actually this steel company didn't give up. I mean, actually they didn't really leave there was no lots of like layoff, because they try to what they did was to create like a new like other companies or like new other industries, including the recycling industry actually, so that people used to work in their company can be transferred to other industries. And also, like as you said, of course they're like older generations, yeah, so for those people, well actually they how can I say, so there are like either the options to for early retirement, or they can still stay, but there are also like some options for like these, especially for these like older generations to gain like a job, gain like a trainings for the especially for these older generations. But in case of like this coal mining region, actually it's the actually oh sorry, maybe, or sorry about the resistance, sorry, actually I this time I didn't really go into I didn't shed light on the role of labor unions, but actually in both cities labor union played an important role, and the resistance was so strong, of course. I mean, the coal industry or steel industry, whatever, so they worked hard. So it's not about the resistance by the older generations, but resistance happened by everyone in the these people working in these sectors. So yeah. Yeah, I just stopped here. I think I can stop, so yeah, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I understood well. And there are some questions to you, but I will repeat it later after other questions to other panelists. Okay, now let me go to Mr. Yang. Can you hear me well, Mr. Yang? Is it okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Now my question is, as waste, the furniture is bulky, pretty bulky. So I think the process of setting up the collection system would not have been easy because of the size. So in the case of government-led policies, the process of including citizen participation is always a big task. So they might hesitate to follow the government guidance for furniture collecting system because of a kind of inconvenience. So how did Taipei City conduct public campaign to the citizens And were there any incentive to encourage participation?
Thank you for your insightful question. That is certainly an important topic. As in the case of Taipei City as an example, the recycling and the collection process of furniture regeneration is built on two pillars, with a reservation system and free of charge. We encourage our citizens to participate by promoting a reservation system so that people can schedule a specific time for our waste furniture to be collected and recycled by our cleaning teams. In addition, this service is free of charge. Therefore, our citizens are very much willing to participate in this circular mechanism. I hope this answers your questions. Thank you again for raising the issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the free service can be the incentive to citizens, because in Korea, we also have similar system, but it's pricey. So yeah, thank you for your answer. I understood very well. And now I have a question to Ms. Gitanjali now. Okay, the system you introduced is very interesting, but for that one, I think the key is quantify the conversion effect due to ecological conservation and calculate its cost. So setting it too challenging will be the barrier to those who pay, and setting it too low will reduce incentive for sellers to convert. Do you think, do you have any examples for reference, or what should be considered in order to convert invisible value, especially value realized in the future, into economic value today?
Gitanjali, your mic is.
Thank you so much for this nice question. Yeah, it's a concern. It's true, but what I would say is we cannot estimate the real value of nature. Nature is priceless. What we are considering here is just a notional value of one or more services that can be traded or offered. For example, the watershed values from upstream forest area that can be paid by the downstream dwellers, or maybe a water company that may be marketing the water. Or if there is a drug company which exploits medicinal plants from a forest, they can pay a part of their income continuously for maintenance and conservation of that forest. Or if we say it's a big protected area and it's offering for the good of everyone, the government on behalf of all the people can pay for conservation of that area. So such schemes have been tried in many countries. Even in Finland, there is a big scheme called the Metso program. And in UK also, there is a UK Land Stewardship scheme. And many schemes have been running in Costa Rica, Uganda, and so on. And people are being paid for not cutting the trees, maintaining the forest. And it has helped in the conservation of biodiversity, for example, chimpanzees in Uganda. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. I didn't know about the cases in other countries. So I hope we can see and we can experience that system in everywhere soon. Thank you. And the last one to Ms. Xingyan Li Joy. Yeah, I believe that the community circular economy is one of the most ideal way to solve environmental problems. And it is so impressive program you introduced to us in the presentation. But considering our society is subordinated to large scale production and consumption, So I considered about how to divide this cycle of production and consumption to a community size. It is not easy to answer, I know, but what is the suitable size of the region in your opinion?
Yeah, thank you for the how can I say, the very thoughtful question and very realistic question at the same time. I totally agree with your idea that circular economy model is a very fancy idea and concept by itself, but it's very difficult to actually realize it and the community level. But I still am positive and optimistic in a way that, like, for example, in my personal opinion, a small city with less than 20,000 population is quite small to make it complete zero waste cities like Zero Waste Europe does. So we have a lot of good cases reported in zero waste cities like Capanore in Italy, which is one of the pioneering zero waste cities in European Union, and also like Belarus in Australia. So they are all very small city, I know, but they have, and that should be small city because the residents and local people can share and talk very easily and can sympathize on the circular economy model and the idea and then encourage all together. And maybe this would be the last clarification on the question you gave to me. And in Korean context, I believe we have good infrastructure, which is a community center. Per population, I think we are one of the like top very well infrastructured city, which has at least 3-floored, 4-floored, well built up community centers everywhere. So let's say, for example, on the very rooftop, we can maybe build a green gardens to grow what we eat and then compost the food waste out of it could be possible. So yep, this is gonna be starting like step by step, little by little, but there will be some room for change, I think. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. As you said, maybe the zero waste city can be the example, and also the building size can be like this case of the circulation of the system. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Thank you very much. And because you mentioned about the zero waste city, I found a related question from Sharice Cariaga. The question to Mr. Wei-Hugh Yang. So I will repeat. I will read the questions. There are 4 questions. Mainly it's about the zero waste. So first one, did Taipei City achieved the zero waste? And second, if not yet, what year in the future are you targeting to achieve the zero waste city? And number 3, what measures or activities that your city is planning to achieve the zero waste city? And the last one, number 4, how many jobs were created by this initiative or project? She means of that refurnished furniture. Okay. So Mr. Yang, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for raising this important issue, which is very crucial for our environment. Taipei City is currently working on this matter as we propose the various ambitious actions and set clear targets to achieve zero waste. Meanwhile, our city has achieved 65% of resource recovery rate by promoting measures such as per bag collection fee and banning single-use tableware. We have reduced the amount of waste. As for our further goals, Taipei City will ban the use of plastic shopping bags by 2030. Fully phase out single-use plastic cup for takeouts by 2030. Since this activity is promoted by the government, our measures are less related to the creating job opportunities. Finally, I hope this answers your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I think it's enough to the questions, but if the further question, please leave in a chat box. So I will check it. And once again, I want to go to the previous questions left in the chat room from Jin-Young Choi. She asked to Ms. Sasaki. She already answered in the chat room, but I think Ms. Akiko can answer for others. Yeah, in a speech. So the question is mostly about the participation. How the government encourage the participants from the citizens and others. So could you please add some more answers, and could you just briefly speak your answer here?
Thank you very much for putting these questions here. Yeah, thank you very much. So basically, as I said earlier, that they are kind of like quite historical, you know, because in case of Tagawa City, their transition happened in 1960s. So those days there was no kind of concept like public participation or participatory governance. Although there were so there was a movement. Of course, I mean, nobody wants to lose their jobs or lose the coal mines, which is a core industry, the key industry in the city. And not only like the directed employed workers, but also they're like indirected the people working in shops or service industries. There's so many tremendous impacts like indirectly. So there are like some kind of like movements of resistance, as I said, like by labor union, like movements by the citizens, and the city government also rush into the national government and claiming not to stop the national transition at that time. But what happened is just like this one direction, one way, opposing and just providing just the opinion just one way. So there is no like mutual communication whatsoever. So what I said is that we need kind of like a social dialogue, having a symmetrical relationship. But those days there's no such relationship. So there's no participatory governance. But in case of Kitakyushu City, the situation is a little bit different because this kind of transition happened in since the 1980s and through 1990s. So there was the kind of like emerging concept of this participation. So there used to be like this, and also as I said in the chat box, so there was this initial movements by the publics, I mean the citizens, especially women, in the 1950s to asking to improve the pollutions, and they became like the basis for this kind of environmental movements, and they started kind of like to become like the city environmental city. So in the Kitakyushu City, although there is a structure of dependence, I mean the steel company is still very strong, and they're kind of many citizens are kind of like dependent on the steel company, and also later on the city to the city government. But still, there was the situation is a little bit different, so that there was kind of still a room for kind of making the governance, I mean the participatory governance. And also, as I said, this NPO, I mean the SSE organization played a role to create a place for co-creation. Yeah, thanks so much. I hope it answered the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and I have a similar question to Ms. Gitanjali. It's also about the participation, because every programs and suggestion we shared in this session needs participation. But what Ms. Gitanjali suggested is need more participation from the owner of the properties and the companies or government. So I want to give this question to Ms. Gitanjali. Which is more effective to motivate community participation? One, providing incentive, or leading awareness change campaign, or is there any other better way?
Sohi, I think I would like to say that both are needed. Awareness is definitely needed in all cases, but compensations are needed in certain cases. For example, a small farmer or a forest owner, why should he bear the opportunity cost of conservation in his own land for the benefit of everyone? So how would he feed himself and his family? So he can be compensated to grow a food forest or to practice agroecology, or to the extent he loses from not doing exploitative farming to a certain time till his production and income is able to equal that he would earn otherwise.
Yeah,
So,
you're right. Yeah, right. We need to do anything we can
yeah.
to promote it. Right, you're right. Thank you. And before sharing the main question to all our panelists, I just want to give one more question to Ms. Lee. Joy Lee. It's about the system. When we think about community recycling system or community circular economy, in the case of items that do not have a high relevance with local resistance, the cost of building the system may be higher than the benefit from the local circular economy. It's just in my opinion. So how should we approach the effectiveness of the system? Did you think about this, or can you share your opinion or idea?
Yeah, this question is also reminding me of your first question, which is the very like current environment, like capitalistic environment that we are in. So we are very, like, individuals, consumers are very distant from the production. So it's a large production system, and then consumers cannot really see what's planned from the production side, how it is processed, manufactured, and how it's transported and delivered to my home. And it's always have a large amount of thrown away products and lived products that in this local community don't need anymore. This is still the existing problem that we are facing, and I personally don't have any clever answers around it. But that's why I think we came up with the zero waste movement in this phase, because at the point that we thought of the recycling economy, let's just make it recycle. This was the basic idea. And now we are phasing into the zero waste idea, which is that we have to not make the waste at the beginning, at the first place. So we are turning into this phase, and I know this is not 100% possible and very realistic, but the transition of the idea between the recycling economy to the zero waste circular economy differs at this point. I'm sorry that I couldn't fully answer the question, but I maybe maybe ask for collective answers about this question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your idea. Yeah, that's very enough to me, and I think that your idea can be very impressive to others as well. And now we only have 5 minutes, so let's go to the closing remarks. Please, I want to remind you the main question. what should be the actions or strategies of individuals, governments, groups, and societies, yeah, whatever, to achieve the better and more inclusive world. So please, including this answer in your closing remark. I want to call one by one, and we only have 1 minute for one person. So first, let me call Ms. Akiko Sasaki, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that well, if I say it in a one sentence, involvement of all the stakeholders in the process in the early stage is a key, because you know, in case of this just transition, I mean, towards low carbon transformation, you know, there are like so many people affected by the transition. But as I said, I mean, as we saw in an example like from the history in Japan, so there you know, I mean, exclusion of not affected of the people would how can I say, people should be involved in the early stage. Otherwise, there will be only, you know, otherwise we cannot really build this social dialogue, or I mean, otherwise we will bring this structure of dependence. And by the way, in Japan, it lasted for over 40 years. So we don't want that. So yeah, so this involvement is a key, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Yang, please, could you give us closing remarks, including the answer of the main question?
Thank you. On behalf of the Taipei City government, I would like to express our appreciation to the government of Mexico City and all its ministry of departments concerned for having successfully organized this forum. I would also like to thank all experts and participants for their fruitful contribution in the Global Social Economy Forum. As we gather together by working together, we believe that we can build an inclusive and sustainable society by promoting SSE, leading environmental regeneration while preserving our nature ecosystems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Ms. Gitanjali, please.
Thank you. So in my closing, I would like to emphasize that we should realize that our natural ecosystems are invaluable and they are needed to be conserved for the continued delivery of ecosystems for the good of one and all. So the valuations may create awareness in this context, and we'll be able to see the personal as well as public gain out of maintaining them in a resilient and flourishing state. That will create individual as well as collective responsibility in maintaining such ecosystems in different ownerships or land holdings. Not only the direct economic use, but other non-direct use values should be highlighted and taken into consideration when such valuations are done. At the local level, the documentation of various ecosystem services should be done so as to create awareness and motivation for conservation. Thank you so much for this nice forum and wonderful meeting you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Gitanjali. And last, Ms. Lee, please.
Yeah, I already put the answer of this question on my last slide, but to repeat or clarify, highlight once again, as an intermediary supporting organization like we do SEEDS, what we could do, or fellow organizations like us could do, might be collecting information, knowledges, thoughts from the industries or like public institutions, no matter where it is based on. We can encourage individuals and then shorten the process from the problem definition to solution development, so that they can take actions right away, not coming up with the very creative solutions or just hesitating internally like that. So yeah, this is the answer, and thank you for inviting me to this wonderful session.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone here, and you can see this video recorded in YouTube. And okay, right, we cannot make a simple answer from for the question, but I hope we could extend our view and thought for understanding the environment issue about it for the community local level. Okay, thank you for everyone, and thank you for taking your time, and hope to see you in another session and other side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wish you a great day and
Thank you.
stay tuned for more sessions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Great session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.